dinner for two. Valentine's Day was supposed to be special this year. Jack and I had been together for 3 years, and he wanted to surprise me with something unforgettable. When he told me he'd booked us a table at La Lumiere, an exclusive restaurant that supposedly had a months-long waiting list, I was impressed. "Private dining experience," he said with a smirk. "Just us, candlelight, and a 5-star chef." I should have been excited. Instead, I felt a faint unease. I'd never heard of La Lumiere before, and when I tried searching for reviews, I found almost nothing. No website, no menu, just a handful of vague mentions in food blogs. Still, I trusted Jack. He loved finding hidden gems, and he assured me that this was one of the best. That evening, we drove through the city, the streets bustling with couples and glowing storefronts. But as we got closer to the restaurant, the crowds thinned. The streets turned quieter, darker. The building stood alone at the end of a narrow road, its facade elegant but strangely unassuming. A single dim lantern hung over the entrance. There were no other cars in the lot. Jack checked the reservation on his phone. "Says we're in the right place." Inside, the atmosphere was even stranger. The restaurant was beautiful. Crimson velvet booths, candlelit tables, and rich mahogany floors. But it was empty. No hostess, no waitstaff, no other guests. The only sound was the faint hum of classical music playing from unseen speakers. I leaned in. "Are we early?" Jack frowned. "I don't think so." Then, as if on cue, a man emerged from the kitchen. He was tall and gaunt, wearing a pristine white chef's coat and a sharp, almost unnatural smile. "Welcome," he said, his voice smooth as silk. "I have been expecting you." Something about him unsettled me. His gaze lingered too long, his expression too controlled. "We're the only ones here?" Jack asked. The chef's smile widened. "Indeed. We believe in offering a truly intimate experience." A single table had been prepared in the center of the room, draped in fine white linen with 2 silver-domed plates already waiting. Jack pulled out my chair, and I hesitated before sitting. My instincts told me something was wrong, but I ignored them. The air smelled incredible, savory and rich, like slow-cooked meat simmering in wine. "I have prepared something very special for you both," the chef said, stepping behind us. I lifted my silverware, but something made me pause. The utensils felt off. Too heavy, too cold. The knife had the faintest discoloration along the edge, almost like rust. Jack was already pulling off his plate's silver dome. His smile faltered. "What the hell is this?" I lifted mine. The plates were set with perfectly arranged dishes, seared meat drizzled in a dark sauce, garnished with delicate greens. But the centerpiece of the dish made my blood freeze. A gold bracelet rested on the plate, half buried under the sauce. I knew that bracelet. I had seen it before, because I had complimented it on a missing persons poster just last week. I jerked my head toward Jack, who had gone completely still. His plate contained something worse. Nestled beside the meat was a single severed finger. The nail painted a delicate shade of pink. A breathless silence fell between us. The walls suddenly felt closer. The candlelight flickered ominously. The chef sighed, stepping forward, wiping his hands on a cloth. "I always hate this part," he mused. Jack lunged to his feet, knocking over the chair. I followed, my pulse roaring in my ears. But before we could run, the lights cut out. The only thing I heard before the darkness swallowed us completely was the chef's voice. Calm, composed, and far too close. "Dinner is served." Heart-shaped box. Valentine's Day has never been my favorite holiday, but I can't deny there's something nice about the little traditions. Flowers, chocolates, the occasional surprise. This year, I wasn't expecting much. I had no special plans, no secret admirer, or so I thought. The package arrived in the morning. A small, heart-shaped box wrapped in red foil with a white ribbon. No note, no return address. Just my name, printed neatly on the front. At first, I figured it was from a friend playing a prank or some sort of promotional giveaway I'd forgotten entering. Still, curiosity got the better of me. Inside, nestled in gold foil, were a dozen chocolates, each one perfectly round and glossy. I hesitated for a second, but they looked too good to resist. The first one melted on my tongue, rich, velvety, with a hint of hazelnut. The second had a smooth caramel center. By the third, I had stopped questioning and just enjoyed the indulgence, but as I reached the last piece, something felt off. Unlike the others, this one was darker, its shape slightly uneven. I popped it in my mouth anyway, expecting another rush of sweetness. Instead, my teeth hit something hard. A sharp, bitter taste filled my mouth as I instinctively spit it into my hand. A small metallic clink echoed in the quiet of my apartment. My stomach twisted as I stared at the tiny object resting in my palm. A fingernail. A human fingernail. My breath caught in my throat. My mind raced to find a logical explanation. Maybe it was some kind of elaborate prank, or I had imagined it. But the sickening realization settled in my gut. I wasn't imagining anything. I dumped the chocolates onto my table, examining each one closely, now fearing what I might find. My hands trembled as I peeled apart the half-eaten piece. Inside the dark chocolate shell, buried in the thick filling, was something small and pinkish. Flesh. I stumbled backward, bile rising in my throat. Who had sent this? Why? My phone buzzed, snapping me from my daze. A text from an unknown number. How did it taste? My breath hitched. I felt watched, exposed. My eyes darted to the windows, the doors. The walls seemed to close in around me. Then another message. You always did have a sweet tooth. My heart pounded so hard it felt like it would crack my ribs. Whoever sent this, they knew me. They were close. I grabbed the box, the chocolates, and shoved them into a plastic bag, willing myself to stay calm. I needed to get rid of it. I needed to call someone. But before I could move, another text came through. Don't throw it away. I worked so hard on this just for you. A knock sounded at the door, and my nightmare had only just begun. The love letter that knew too much. It started on a chilly February morning, just a week before Valentine's Day. A letter, handwritten in delicate cursive, had been slipped under my door. You are more beautiful than the stars, and I count myself lucky to exist in the same world as you. There was no name, no return address, just those words in perfect ink. I wasn't sure what to make of it. At first, I thought it was meant for someone else, maybe a neighbor. But curiosity got the better of me. I kept the letter on my nightstand, feeling a strange thrill at the thought of a secret admirer. The second letter arrived the next morning. I saw you in the cafe today, drinking your usual vanilla latte. You looked lost in thought, staring out the window. I wonder what you were thinking about. I frowned. I had been at the cafe yesterday, sitting alone by the window, but I hadn't seen anyone watching me. My routine was simple. I went to work, stopped at my favorite cafe, and walked home. It was nothing unusual, but the letter made it feel different. Observed. Maybe it was a harmless crush. A coworker? A barista? Someone who noticed me from afar? I told myself it was innocent, romantic even. But then the third letter came. I know you don't believe in fate, but we were meant to be. You still sleep with the lamp on, just in case, don't you? Ever since that night, my breath caught in my throat. I did sleep with the lamp on. I had since childhood, after a night I had spent crying under my blankets, convinced something was lurking outside my window. I had never told anyone about that fear, not even my closest friends. I checked my apartment, every lock, every window. My stomach twisted as paranoia settled in. How could they know that? That night, I barely slept. My mind replayed every moment of my day, wondering who had seen me, who had been close enough to know things they shouldn't. The next morning, I hesitated before opening my door. Another letter lay waiting. You looked beautiful in your navy sweater today. Blue always has suited you best. You're so much like the ocean, deep, unpredictable, breathtaking. Do you think about me the way I think about you? My fingers trembled. I had worn a navy sweater yesterday. My pulse pounded as I rushed to my window, peering out onto the street below. Everything looked normal. Cars, pedestrians, the usual morning bustle. But somewhere out there, someone was watching. I skipped work that day, too unsettled to leave my apartment. I triple-checked my locks, closed the blinds, and spent hours scrolling through my phone, searching for hidden cameras, tracking devices, anything that could explain this. But the letters didn't stop. Every day they arrived. Long, poetic confessions of love laced with chilling details about my life, my childhood nightmares, my favorite songs, the exact scent of my shampoo. Then, one night, the worst one arrived. I know you haven't told anyone about the man you saw watching you from your bedroom window last night. Don't worry, I scared him away. He won't come back. The air left my lungs, because there had been a man, a dark figure, just beyond the glass, barely visible in the dim streetlights. I had convinced myself it was a trick of the shadows, that my exhausted mind was playing tricks on me. But the letter knew. Someone had seen him, or worse, someone had been there. Terror gripped me. This wasn't just a stranger with a crush. This was someone inside my life, inside my head. I packed a bag that night. I didn't know where I was going, but I knew I couldn't stay. I booked a last-minute hotel across town and planned to leave before dawn. But when I opened my door, one last letter was waiting. My hands shook as I unfolded it. You can run, my love, but I will always find you, because I know you better than you know yourself. The street outside was empty, but I could feel it. Someone was watching, and they always had been.